The Minnesota Vikings come out of Jacksonville unscathed after the defense shows up once again after a few games of being absent, but the offense was nowhere to be found. We're going to be talking about all the stories in this game, including the kicker, the defense, TJ Hawkinson, and Sam Darnold's very questionable decisions in this game, but Griffen, this one took a few years off my life, and I think that's the best way to say it going into this game. There was a lot of things that we were hoping for that we didn't see, a lot of things that we weren't expecting to happen. So we're going to be talking about all of that here in this video. But before we get into it, folks, we know that 91% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Minnesota Vikings news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join us here on the channel. We're covering everything Minnesota Vikings, and we got a lot of news to cover here regarding this game, Griffen. And immediately, this one was a very tough one. I want to pull up our first screenshot here, kind of going over the broad strokes of this game that I think are going to surprise a lot of people who didn't get to see it. And the Vikings had the ball for 42 minutes and 44 seconds today against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is the most by any team, not just this game this season, yet, by any team this season, yet 0 touchdowns were scored, and it was a win. That's something that you probably wouldn't expect to see if you did not watch the game, but you've seen these stats. But Griffen, how do you feel about this game? What'd you think about it? And, you know, it was a tough one to watch. I guess that's the best way of putting it.
In the great words of Dominic Toretto, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. That was the case last season when we beat the Raiders in that 6-3 victory, and that was the case today as we get out 12-7 with barely scoring anything on offense. Thankfully, the kicker was able to bail us out on a few occasions. We're going to talk about him in this video as well, give him his flowers, because what a debut from Parker Romo. He was awesome. And I think Minnesota does have a lot of things they have to work on going forward, particularly what was Sam Darnold thinking this game? That was something. What were we thinking in the fourth quarter on offensive play calling? It was once again one of those games where we had the game in our hands to seal it and just win it all with a convincing fashion, and Kevin O'Connell's offensive play calling once again comes up short. The defense did fortunately bail us out on many occasions. Brian Flores had a solid play calling on defense, and our defensive stars came up and showed out. Cameron Bynum, Byron Murphy, those guys were once again the heroes when we needed them to be, as well as Andrew Van Ginkel, Harrison Phillips. All those guys came out to play. Yeah,
this game, as you said it perfectly. This was a very interesting game on the play calling with everything. They need to clean up a lot of things. And if I'm honest, I think Trevor Lawrence is in this game. The Vikings lose, no doubt. You know, Mac Jones hasn't played or started a game in about a year. A lot of that has to do with just not playing, I think, and kind of seeing the result from this game. But before we get into our actual stats, looking at this from Will Raggets, the yards were 402 to 143 for the Vikings. First downs, 28 to 10. Time of possession, 42-19 to 17-41. The plays were 82 to 43, nearly doubling the plays that we had at Jacksonville. And the turnovers were 3-3, and we won 12-7 with 0 touchdowns. I've never seen a football game quite like that one, Will Raggett said. And, you know, it's just as well if I said it, Griffen said it. It don't matter who says it. This was definitely an interesting game to take a look at and kind of sit down and watch, because, you know, you don't see games like this every day. But as we mentioned, there's a lot of guys we got to give some credit to here in this game. And as you see, the quarterback situation for both teams in this game, not the greatest. 3 interceptions for Sam Darnold in this game, 2 for Mac Jones, 0 passing touchdowns, and a combined rating of 86. Combined between two quarterbacks, 86. That is horrible. But receiving on this side of the game, rushing, we'll touch on that first. Aaron Jones, pretty good in this game. Went down with an injury late, came back at the very end of the game. That was a quite concerning one that we will touch on in a little moment as well. Cam Akers, pretty solid so far this game. Once again, didn't have the explosiveness that he did in his first. Sam Darnold, in his time rushing this game, very good escaping the pocket, but there was too much of that in my opinion. The passing and everything wasn't really running in the Vikings' way here, but Tank Bigsby, I think the Vikings got quite lucky that he went down as well. I think he could have probably carved the Vikings how good he's been lately. Of course, hopefully he gets healthy once again. Hopefully all is well. But this was a very interesting game on the rushing side of things as well, and just an interesting game on the offense. So, Griffen, what do you think about the Vikings rushing specifically in this game, as well as Aaron Jones' supposed injury that he looked like he went out with and looked like he was done for the game, but ended up coming back with the final play?
Yeah, it was very concerning. I think everyone was holding their breath when they saw him go down. We saw it just on the tackle, just when he hit the ground. I was even looking at my dad. I was like, this looks a little bit unnerving for him. And he got up, then he went back down, and I knew something was off just when he first got tackled. And then seeing him get carted to the locker room, probably just to get him there quick enough so that he could get scanned and get back in the game if he was able to. Thankfully, that was the case. He was able to get back out there, but we'll see how it goes throughout the rest of the week. We've seen him come back into games this season where it seemed like he was all good, and then throughout the week, something pops up where, hey, that wasn't necessarily the case. He wasn't 100% all good. He was just good enough to keep going. That was probably the case today, so we're going to see that and monitor that throughout the week. That's going to be something that's going to be a big headline for Minnesota this entire week, especially when we finally have all of our offensive weapons back and clicking. We saw Josh Oliver have a great game today. I think he's someone who's definitely deserving of a lot of praise. And again, I think in the run game, Cam Akers played a solid game for the first 3 quarters, and then when the fourth quarter hit, when we needed the game to be put away, it was like he forgot how to read offensive gaps. So that's going to be something that Minnesota is going to have to learn how to just patch up. We saw how Ty Chandler got some touches today. We didn't see him get any touches last week. And then this week we implemented him a bit more just because Aaron Jones was out and Cam Akers wasn't getting going the way that we wanted him to go like last week. So there's a few things that Minnesota definitely has to work on. A lot of them are offensively. Defensively, played a great game, but like you said, if they have Trevor Lawrence and Tank Bigsby play that game, we definitely lose this game, especially when looking at how lopsided the stats were. We should have blown them out this game. Should have been at least like a 28-7 game for the Minnesota. It should have been one of those games where we came out and had a statement win, like we've seen teams like, unfortunately, the Detroit Lions, where they continue to boat race teams. This was one of those opportunities for us, and we squandered it, but we still were able to get the W.
Yeah, and, I'm no doctor, but I do think the injury to Aaron Jones was simply get the wind knocked out of it and probably a bruised rib or something, It kind of that unprotected area along the side. So hopefully that's all, but you never know with Aaron Jones, the injury history that he's had. Hopefully it's all something. Just something that will pass by over the week. But the receiving game for the Vikings here was a very interesting one as well. And I guess we can kind of say everything was interesting here, but Justin Jefferson was the main target in this game, even though we do see T.J. Hockenson, another phenomenal game coming back. Finally, the T.J. Hockenson we know after last week's kind of easing into the back to play, 8 receptions, for 72 yards. No touchdowns, of course, but Justin Jefferson was kind of the main target. And that's one thing that we got to mention here is a big result in why Sam Darnold was getting so many interceptions. He's trying to force the ball to Justin Jefferson too much in this game, in my opinion. Now, we want to get the ball to Jefferson, of course, and you know that if you go over the top, you will likely see Justin Jefferson go away with the ball. But in the opportunities that he's had, I believe all 3 interceptions, and what would have been a fourth, the fourth would have been intercepted if it were to go Jordan Addison, ultimately called back to a penalty. But the 3 passes, I believe, were all going to Justin Jefferson that were intercepted. And I think that was a big reason why there were so many interceptions, a bad game, forcing the ball to Jefferson when he is not fully open. And I know you can try and just get the ball in Jefferson's way. He will likely come down with it, but a lot of these opportunities were just horrible passes, bad decisions, and kind of stuff like that where you're over-forcing it here in this game. But kind of spreading the ball around once again, as you mentioned, Josh Oliver coming out of this game, very good once again, a beautiful one-handed catch here, and Hockenson. Tight ends seem to be kind of the bread and butter here in this game for Sam Darnold, but the wide receivers were definitely an issue. So what do you think about this, Griffen? How do you feel that the passing game was really influenced by not just Jefferson, but kind of the way that Sam Darnold was looking at his receivers here?
Yeah, we know that this passing game does just revolve around Justin Jefferson. He's the best wide receiver in the league. That is a fact, and that is why you just revolve everything around him. But in a game where when we over-targeted him, and in the past when we've over-targeted him, we saw in the Philly game where Kirk Cousins on Monday night was just trying to force-feed Jefferson. It led to so many turnovers and a blowout loss. And that could have been the case today, honestly. If our defense hadn't shown up and shown out like they did, and if they had Trevor Lawrence and Tank Bigsby, we would have gotten torched all day long. And it would have been one of those ugly games where Minnesota definitely should have won and gotten just destroyed. We saw that happen on the Josh Allen year where he just vaulted over Anthony Barr in a 1:00 game that we got blown out of, that we should have just won convincingly. That could have been one of these games. Thankfully, our defense just played lights out. But it's great to see that with this passing game, we're spreading the ball around, like you said. Guys are making key passes and key catches in key moments where Sherfield, he didn't have a lot of catches this season, and it's been a while since his last catch, but he got involved today in a key moment, just getting that first down. So as long as guys are contributing in that sense, it's awesome to see him spread the ball around like this, and it builds confidence in these guys going forward, so that when Jefferson is locked down in double or even triple coverage and Hockenson is taken away, you can trust in guys like Josh Oliver, Jalen Naylor, and Trent Sherfield, so you can have some more reliable passing options.
Yeah, I completely agree. And as you mentioned, this was definitely a good game from the tight ends. Forcing Justin Jefferson was a questionable decision. You can't ultimately do that. And we've seen the result that the defense had on this game and how it has impacted the past in a negative way, but this game was really a defensive showcase for this Vikings team and really got us to win. I think there was no credit to the Vikings offense apart from, I guess we could say, T.J. Hawkinson, Josh Oliver, that really deserved any positive annotations from this team. But the defense, as you mentioned, was really the reason we won this game and a big part of what the Vikings are going to have to do going forward. Hopefully we don't see any more games like this, but they need to be at least aware that something like this can happen once again. And going into the interception part of things, interception from Byron Murphy, Cameron Bynum, both at the end of the game there in the fourth quarter. Definitely some things we needed there. Definitely a big boost in the momentum shifting plays, but the three from the Jaguars were just... I don't even want to talk about it anymore, but and we have to. It's the way we have to look at Sam Darnold's progression and the way he's going to evolve in the future. But the kicker, John Parker Romo. This is one guy I wanted to absolutely shout out this game. The reason we won, and literally the only reason, because he got all the points for the Vikings this game. Coming in, short week, new long snapper, new holder, first NFL kick. He really showed why he was in conversation in training camp for the Vikings, and ultimately didn't get the job over Will Reichard, but there's no way you're beating the job out for the guy who has the NCAA record for kicking points, and obviously, we know that Will Reichard is a great kicker, but you got to give John Parker Romo his credit here coming into this game, coming in an away game, and just getting it done. So, Griffen, how do you feel about him? Obviously, we're going to be familiar with him over the next coming weeks, and how do you think that he was feeling this game? There's definitely some nerves there, there's no doubt, and in his first NFL game coming on a short week.
Yeah, he definitely had some welcome to the NFL moments where he got that first kick early in the first quarter, got the confidence going, and it was great to see that. And in a week where we came into this game saying, if Minnesota has to kick a field goal, take it, but otherwise go for two, try not to force it to be on him this entire game. But that was exactly what happened for Minnesota. That was exactly the game that we ended up playing, where he was the one that had to propel us to the victory and be the one to put the game on his back. And he did that. He rose to the occasion. There were some shaky ones. There was some kinks that they have to work out. But overall, they have just a great, reliable safety valve in their backup kicker until Reichard comes back off the IR. But other than that, I think he's going to be good on special teams. And I think this is something that Minnesota can have confidence in going forward. And it's one less thing they have to worry about heading into next week.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was about to mention as well, is that we can actually trust him now going next week. And it's not that I didn't trust him this game. It's just you never know. Someone coming on their first game, short week and whatnot. But now that he kind of has this 1 week under his belt, getting another full week of practice now, going in next week, doing the exact same thing, I feel like we can actually go for these now. We don't need to go for the 2 points, even though we didn't this game. Obviously, very good we didn't because there was no opportunities to, but this is a good sign going forward, especially knowing that Will Reichard is on the IR, knowing that he will be out for 4 weeks. We kind of have that safety blanket now that we know. We've seen it. A few different yardages, 45 being the longest. I believe it was like 20 some odd as the shortest. You got a good range, and I hope we do see him make some more kicks, but hopefully we don't have to put the ball at his foot except for any extra points over the next few weeks. But yeah, this is a very tough game, a very, very tough game for the Vikings. A win is a win is a win is a win, though. That's all you can really say, and hopefully we don't have this kind of stress going next week. But Griffen, you got anything else before we finish this video off?
Hopefully next week is not like this week. Hopefully we can finally get a convincing win again. It would be great for Minnesota to get back to those kind of victories like we had early on in the season, where we're just swarming teams on offense and on defense where they just have no answer for us. Hopefully that can be the case rolling forward.
Yep, I completely agree. And we got another big one next week, and hopefully that we actually see the confidence that we had before result in the game as well in a big win. But that's all we got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But we're signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.